Welcome to A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life. This is the place to be for stories to inspire and uplift when life doesn't go according to our plans. I'm Laura Muirhead, your host and the reigning queen of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life. I can't wait to share the plot twist stories of my guests that will inspire and uplift you when life didn't follow the plan, right here on A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life podcast. Hi, welcome to another episode of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life. I'm Laura Muirhead, your host, and I am so happy to welcome today Joan Kennedy to this episode. So Joan, come and tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are in the world and what you do.
Oh, hi Laura. Thank you for having me, first of all. I really am so grateful to be here today. I am in the UK. I'm originally from Ireland. I'm from Dublin. But I met my husband, who's English, met him over the phone, funny enough. That's another story. But yes, we got married and he imported me into the UK. So I live in the Midlands of the UK for anybody out there, which is, everybody thinks of the UK, oh yeah, I must go to London. But, just to kind of say it out there, there is more places in the UK to come and see. So this is where I live. So I'm an artist. I'm a vibrant watercolor animal artist. I specialize in painting animals. That's what I absolutely adore doing. That's what I love doing.
I love that. And I love that you mentioned there's like a lot of other places in the UK. I've been fortunate enough to visit both Scotland, the Highlands of Scotland, and Northern Ireland a few years ago. And so it's just gorgeous. So I'm glad you mentioned there's more to it than London. But I really am so excited to hear your story. A funny thing happened on the way to my life. And as you mentioned, you're an artist. Now, were you an artist your whole life? Was this what you've always done?
I think deep down I've been an artist all my life, to be quite honest. But deep down I didn't believe it, and I didn't have the self-belief. And I should have really followed my dream. Looking back on my life, I probably should have from the start. It was the one subject in school that I absolutely adored, and I used to do it when I was in senior school. Twice a week we'd have art for 3 hours, and I'd go, yes, great, we've got it. My friend, who absolutely hated it, would go, oh no, not art again, and I could have just stayed there all day. And my teacher, Mr. Mooney, he had this great long big beard. He was a real artist, and very quiet spoken. And he said to me, he used to always, just come up and look at my artwork. And he said to me, Joan, you are good enough to go on to university. He said, you should go to university. Now, in those days, I'm going back a while now. You didn't go to university. My brothers didn't go and whatever. And I remember rushing home and saying to my mum, oh my gosh, teacher thinks I'm good enough, I should go to university. And she said, what do you want to do that for? I mean, she was really encouraging. She was trying to, just as a mum, I'm a mum myself, and you try and help your kids to go the right path. So I don't knock her for that. But I can just remember it so well. You don't want to be doing that, because if you do that, you'll end up having to go to America and work for Disney. And, and I think to myself now, my gosh, what an amazing job that would have been. And been very much a homebird and very, very close to my family, particularly my mum. That really turned me off the idea, because I never ever wanted to move away. And yet I ended up, I remember sitting under a tree with my friend thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do in my life, I don't know where we're going with life and all the rest. And what happened was I ended up going to this commercial college with my mum, because that's where the office work is, where you should be, and that's where the good jobs are, and maybe you could get to work in a bank and all this exciting sort of things. And I can remember seeing these like pool of ladies, all sitting there learning how to type. And I remember thinking to myself, gosh, that looks a boring job. And I did it for 5 years, at least 5 years. Miss Emerson, she taught me how to type. And it was the real old-fashioned typewriters. And years later, funny enough, I've seen that same typewriter in a museum.
I love that. I love that. Well, and I think it's really interesting too, because especially it seems like, particularly in the artist world, like for people who are artists, that it seems like that's what they get a lot, is the, oh, what would you want to do that for? There's get a real job, do something, that's a real job. And I love that you said that your mom said, well, you'd have to go work for Disney. Oh, wouldn't that be fabulous? Like in hindsight, but so here you are working in this, working away on the typewriter, right, in this job for 5 years. And so tell us a little, the old school typewriters. I actually learned to type in high school, so not on the computer, back on the old IBMs that.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's modern. Even IBM was modern. That was, like this golf ball typewriter, and the course that I had to do, this commercial course, I even learned, these, it's pre-war time really, these machines where when you're on the phone and you have to unplug it and stick it in there and then stick it down there. I learned all how to use this, how to use teletext, how to use, this is pre-computers. Gosh, I'm feeling old. I really am. There's one thing I will say: I never want to be an old woman in an old body. As long as I'm young in an old body, I don't mind. So So anyway, I can recall while I was doing this commercial course, I was 18, and I can remember on the stairs seeing this picture on the wall, and it was like this forest, this autumn leaves. And I remember thinking it was absolutely gorgeous, and not knowing anything about painting as such other than scribbling. I took a photograph of it. And then I started to I think it was this course, must have been just for about 2 or 3 days, literally. Not days, evening course. It was like just to see how do you use oil paints. And I remember painting something similar to trying to just learn really what to do. And I painted this forest. So from there, I'm 18, I end up going to work in a transport company and doing imports and exports all the way from Ireland to England. That was my first, introduction to transport. And it ended up then going from one transport company to another. And then from there, I was 18, so I was working in transport, whether it was imports, exports, anything like that. I did that until I was 25. So I was like 18 to 25. Now, when I was 24, 25, where I worked was in the docks down in Dublin, right down in the docks, right down the very end where the massive big ships used to come in. And I would start work at 6 a.m, and the ships would be getting offloaded, and all the fruit and veg would have to get to the to the shops. And I was literally 5 minutes away from the sea where I worked. I worked in this really old porta cabin. And if you can imagine, you got all these greasy drivers. Now, when I say greasy, they're oil and everything. They'd come in to the porta cabin and they'd have to collect their papers. And the big porta cabin was attached to customs. The customs officers were I can't say the word, put my teeth in. Officers were coming in and out and all this paperwork and all. And I worked in customer services, which I really enjoyed. I loved dealing with the public, dealing with customers. So that bit was, and from there on, I'd moved on to using computers. They came in by that time. But what I used to do on my lunch breaks was I'd go down to where the ships were in, and I'd do some sketching. And funny enough, this is my sketchbook that I had, my very first sketchbook. And the first image is in June 88. I don't know if you can see.
And it looks like it's of the sea and the bay there. And fabulous.
Yeah.
I love that you still have your sketchbook.
I know, I can't
That's
believe
incredible.
it. So, and there's then I started to kind of practice doing things like, just people out of And these are going back to 1988. So I never called myself an artist then, because my gosh, that's a big title to add to yourself, So yeah, so really, this was June 88.
I mean, so for our listeners, I mean, we're recording this and there's a video, but for our listeners who can't see that, there's just fabulous sketches of people's faces and cats, and just beautiful. I mean, clearly you're clearly an artist. I mean, and they always say, at least I've always heard, that one of the hardest things to sketch or draw is people's faces, to capture that, and those are just absolutely beautiful drawings of people's faces, and the different things that you worked on. And again, I love that you have that and that you can look back on that and see what you worked on back then. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm amazed really that I still have it, and that means a lot to me that I still, it'll probably go in the museum along with the typewriter at some point. You never know.
I hope so.
So basically what happened shortly after I did that drawing, and I can honestly, that's 1988, and I can just remember it like yesterday. And I can remember coming back into the porta cabin, and I can remember seeing that there was like a piece of wood all the way around one of the walls. Now you imagine, as I say, it's filthy, it's dirty, it's, transport, that's the way it is. And I don't know what possessed me, because I never even asked my boss, but I just took out my paintbrushes and I thought, this piece of wood, this needs a picture put on. So I literally start painting on the wood and painted a forestry scene, something like that. And my colleagues, they all went, wow, crikey, you should be doing this, you should be doing this. And I knew I loved doing it, and kind of, it's like a quiet voice inside you, but you think, no, you can't be an artist, I need to have a job and all this sort of stuff. But this quiet voice sort of is saying, no, you should be doing this, and you ignore it. And that's what happened. So, but what happened was that my colleagues said to me, okay, can you paint us something then? I want that. Can you, do some. So I was going home and I was chucking on the paint with oil painting, and bring it in, and they'd ask me what price did I want for it, and I go, I don't know, £100, yeah, there you go. And I say I was 18, 19, I don't know, hadn't got a clue. And I remember then I was just doing this. It was like a conveyor belt almost. I'd paint something and they'd leave me to paint whatever I wanted. It wasn't a case of, well, can you paint? I'd just paint something, bring it in. Who wants this one? And it ended up where I worked out, one day I sat down and I worked out I'd sold over 50 paintings. So this company, Pandoro, where I worked, my husband, I got to know him over the phone. He worked in transport. He was in charge of bringing the goods over and whatever. But in a nutshell, we got to know each other. And in the January, he came over for his birthday. In the April, we got engaged. In September, I moved over here, got married and moved over. So it was like, wow, you know what I mean, in a very short space of time. And I lived down south near London, funny enough, not too far. Well, about an hour out. And it turned out that I was desperately, desperately homesick. Really, really hard. It was a really hard time, especially the first year of our marriage was, when you're supposed to have like a happy marriage, wow. Instead, I was just feeling so sad, so sad. Because there's one thing that people may or may not say, well, a lot of people do say, is there is kind of like a north-south divide that I found as well, that people had told, even the English people tell me, that people are more friendlier the further up north you go. Whereas if you're down south and you say good morning to somebody, it's like, oh, what's you after, type of thing. And I found that hard because people in Ireland are very friendly, Southern Ireland especially. So I found it really tough, and it killed my joy of painting, really. And I didn't do anything. I stopped doing it. But I worked in an estate agents, this estate agents, and I remember as soon as I moved over, I got a job very quickly, and in the course of a conversation, there was a chap there who I said, oh yeah, I paint. He said, oh, I love art. Can you bring something in? And again, a bit like what I did in Dublin, brought this picture in, and I said, oh, there you go. Oh, I'll buy that. He said, I like that, whatever. So that was the last painting I sold. And that was, you're talking 30 years ago, roughly 30, 20, 28, 30. And of course, there's this like deep kind of feeling where you should be actually doing something to do with your art. But I couldn't, my heart wasn't in it. I just thought I can't do it. So time goes on, and we move up to the Midlands. I have a little girl, my gorgeous daughter now, who's now 22 since last week. And I remember there was like shock horror, because I said to my husband, I said, I want to be a full-time mum. And he's going, what? How are we going to pay for the mortgage? Blah, 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 you know. I said, I don't know. I says, you know, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it is mine. And that was fine. So I gave up my job and became a full-time mum. Yeah, you know, just before she was born. But of course, time goes on and you do need to pay for mortgage. So I did need to get a job, really. And what happened was, I took her to a music class, music session, and I could see how she responded. And the lady who was running it said, oh, this is a franchise, I'm about to pack it up, so does anyone want to take it over? I go, yeah, I'll take it over. And I ran and started up my own business. That was the first time when I started up. So, and for 19 years, I was teaching babies and toddlers through music and help parents with their child development. Now, what I did was I did that for 10 years with this company. And I felt that it kind of needed magic added to it, which it didn't have. It was really good, and it was a good foundation for me to start off teaching children and all. And I'm passionate about how music, a bit like art, it really has such an effect on people. But it needed something else. And that's when I pulled away and I set up my own, which was Little Hands Music. I set that up. And I introduced some Irish dancing to it. Irish, getting up, we need to have some of this fun Irish dancing in it. And making it up myself, really. But people absolutely loved it. So I used to get mums up with their babies and they'd be dancing and spinning them around, and we'd have a party every day. And I ran 20 classes a week, and I ended up where East Staffs Council, they have children's centres here in the part of the government, the children's centres, and they employed me. I won this contract to go in and teach the underprivileged there that couldn't afford classes. And it was just such a wonderful time, because I met people from all walks of life. I met people who were doctors, and there was a lady or a lord, whatever, who, you know, had massive big houses, right down to people who, you know, whose husbands were in prison and they were terrified that they'd get out. And it was just incredible, really, to meet such a vast range of people.
That does sound just amazing. And it sounds, you know, like when you're talking about your first year of marriage and really not being that joyful because of some of the experiences that you had, or just the interaction with people, and then for you to be able to create such a joyful experience for these moms and the kids, and you know, I have two kids myself, and so thinking back to when they were little, and there's such an important role of that connectivity with your children as well, and having that, and then also like add to it that you just interacted with, so, you know, all different people. I love this story. This is amazing. And that you created it, like you like you said, it was, you know, art is and music do, you know, they do complement each other and are similar in that way. And I love this is amazing.
Because it is, and I know that I changed lives then, because with the council work, you know, I got paid a certain amount of money regardless of how many people turned up. Now I couldn't have done that on my own, run a class with hardly anyone turning up, whereas with the council I can just clearly remember there was one mum who turned up, only one, and she was just so desperately shy. She was so shy that the previous week she kind of looked through the door and couldn't come in because there was someone else in the room, and she was the mum. And when she came in with her little one, we sat down, and even though I was teaching the child and helping the baby with interacting with music, I was actually helping her as well. And it was just incredible, really, because she was, she said to me that she was a nurse, and that she said when she put her because she'd have to go into houses and into people's homes. When she had her uniform on, she could go in, and she was that person who wasn't shy. But take the uniform off, and she just couldn't. She couldn't actually get out. She couldn't do it. And there was a few things I suggested to her, and she came back the following week, and it turned out what I said really helped. And I'm just really thrilled that that's kind of maybe helped her along the way of, progressing as a mum, or as a human being, never mind as a mum. So, lots of things happened, an awful lot of amazing stories, really, in dealing with children and having such amazing fun. But then deep down, there's kind of, what's happening? What are you doing with this art, Joan? You doing anything? And I don't know, it's just this kind of yearning inside. And I knew I really needed to do something about it. But then I thought, well, maybe, and I said to my husband, I want to start up a business as an artist. No, why don't you just do it as a hobby? What the heck do you want to do that for? Now, he is so supportive. I mean, he's been incredible. He's like the wind beneath my wings, as they say. I couldn't, he's been just amazing, really. I couldn't have done it really without him, in all honesty. But he just was trying to protect me. Why don't you just have it as a hobby? Deep down, it's kind of, no, I want this as a business. I want to, just have it as a business. And in the end, I started painting. And I know I did watercolors when I was younger, but I don't really know what happened. I'll show you this. It's just briefly. This is on a piece of cards now. It's nothing that's good, but this was my first piece. Now this, as I say, I still have the original watercolor, but this is Elvis.
I love this. It's just a colorful rooster, and it's gorgeous. Oh my goodness, I love it. So when you were originally painting, you were using oil colors.
Yes. Yeah.
And then now at this point in your life, you started up with watercolors.
Yeah. And just don't know where this happened, and I don't know how that happened. And I really wish, it's one tip for anybody out there who's trying to follow their dream is don't do what I did. Keep a diary and, figure out, because I don't know, that happened and I don't even remember doing it. I mean, I'm kind of in denial. Maybe someone else did it, I don't know. But it happened. And I'm not really sure how it happened. But I know as well that my husband looked at it and went, wow, where did that happen? How did that happen? And then when the people were saying to me, gosh, and I love doing it. And I love watercolor because it's so unpredictable. It's like going on a journey and the sat-nav breaks down and you just don't know where you're going to end up. And you'll either end up in the swamp, or guess what? You'll end up with something amazing. Who knows? But it's a right battle, mental battle. Because if you end up in the swamp and you're trying to come back, it's like, crikey, what do I do? But anyway, so I started doing this, but I didn't even know how to get it out there. And social media is so hard. The internet, it is difficult. Like, crikey, there's millions of us on there, trying to say, hello, can you see me? And I did feel a little bit kind of disheartened, thinking, what am I going to do? Anyway, it was around that same time that I thought, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I should just keep it as a hobby. Maybe it is a silly thing to do. But I'm still running my other business, Little Hands Music. And something came up where they were saying there was this grant available to use to make people's lives better somehow, or whatever. And it was to incorporate some music or whatever, And I thought, don't know how it even came in. I know, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a children's story. And I applied for it. And I won the award too. They said, yes, there you go. There's the money, the funding to go and do a children's book. And that's when I panicked, because I thought, okay, it's okay saying you're going to do it, but it's another thing when you got to have to do it. I'm great coming up with the ideas.
That's amazing. Like you just applied for it and they were like, yeah, go ahead and go.
And here's some money to go and learn how to write a book.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I was going to, and my music, I was going to record it and try and get that online so people can use music online. And that's all technical, which I don't know how to do. Anyway, in a nutshell, to cut a long story short, I managed to use the money to learn how to create a book. What do you need to do? And the story ended up where the first thing I thought about, because you're just told, yeah, go ahead, write a book. And you think like, what the hell do I do now? What do I write about? And I thought about my own childhood, and I thought about books that I had read, and, which wasn't that many, as a small kid. But I remembered this image of a little mouse, two mice looking up into the moon. And I ended up painting that. I think that was one of the first images. I've got this mouse on a placemat from all things. Don't know if you can see it.
Oh my goodness. And again, it's just a beautiful image, and this beautiful, colorful moon. And it's incredible. I love it. I love it.
So I painted this because I was thinking of when I was a kid. And I thought, and I took it was the very first picture, other than Elvis the cockerel. I took it to the gallery to get it printed and framed and all the rest. And he said, "Oh, what's the name of the picture?" And I went, "What? Oh my gosh, I have to give the name." That's how naive in a sense I was. So I said, "It's the mouse and the moon." "Oh no, come on, Joan, you can do better than that." And I said, "I don't know. What can you call it?" And he looked at it and he said, "Call it something like Big Dreams or something." "Oh yeah, Big Dreams. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, let's call it Big Dreams." Yeah. And the book was about this scruffy dog who is trying to find a home. The scruffy dog is because as a kid, I always wanted a dog. And my mum said, "Well, when you grow up, you can have your own dog." But there was a dog who used to follow me around literally everywhere, literally followed me to school, came into the classroom, teacher couldn't get rid of him, tried to push him down the stairs, he wouldn't go. So he sat the whole lesson, this flea-bitten Nasher the dog, my amazing friend, he was just beautiful. So I thought, okay, I've got the mouse, the big dream, and I've got the scruffy dog. Yes, the scruffy dog is going to be the scruffy dog story. So that's the story, the scruffy dog story, which I've written, illustrated, somehow figured out how to get it onto Amazon and whatever. And it's got music in it and, music notes. So it's a story with music, and it's just this, magical story, really. Anyway, I did that. And I remember then, I can't remember if it was before I did the book or after it, but yeah, it must have been, I think this happened before, right? That I sat down with my daughter because she was trying to figure out what subjects to take and didn't know what, very confused and all the rest. And I said to her, "You know what, you do what you absolutely enjoy." Because I thought back about not working for Disney. I didn't want that for her. And I said, just follow your dream. Just what subjects do you enjoy? And just do what you enjoy. Because through joy is where your passion will come. And that's something out, you'll just figure it out from there somehow. And she said, okay, yeah, I think I'll do blah, 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 blah. And I remember then sitting down afterwards and thinking to myself, is that the right thing to say to somebody when you're 16, 17? Or should she actually go and get a proper sensible job, maybe working in the bank, maybe learn how to type, maybe get a secretarial course behind her and do the sensible thing like a good little girl like I was. And I thought, I don't know, because, maybe I can't be an artist. Maybe that's a stupid idea and all the rest. Maybe I should just keep it as a hobby. Maybe it's the wrong thing. When suddenly the phone rang and this chap says to me, "Is that Joan Kennedy Artist?" Now, the reason it's called Joan Kennedy Artist is because of the 50 paintings that I've sold in Ireland. My maiden name is Joan Kennedy. I couldn't be called just Joan Kennedy because you've got the Kennedys in America, and Joan Kennedy is a famous name. So if you put in Joan Kennedy, you'll never see me because you'll learn all about the Kennedys over there. But if you put in Joan Kennedy Artist, then guess what? I'll pop up somewhere, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, he says to me, "Is that Joan Kennedy Artist?" And I went, "Oh my God, somebody's phoning me." Can't believe this. I never get phone calls. Well, nobody rings nowadays, do they? We never ring. We all that's old fashioned, a bit like the typewriter. Anyway, I said, yeah, it is. Yeah. I had to sit down, even better. Yeah. I said, "Sorry, who's this?" And he said, "You won't remember me," he said, "I don't suppose. But," he said, "I worked with you 20 years ago." And he said, "We worked together in an estate agent." And he said, "And you brought in a painting." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, I remember, because it was the last painting that I'd done." And he said, "And I remember buying that painting there and then." And he said, "The next day," he said, "I got it framed." And he said, "And what happened was," he said, "I just wondered how you are 20 years later." And I, wow, I said, "My gosh," I said, "this is incredible." And he says, "Yeah, so it turned out the story went on. Yeah, I've got a daughter. She's 16. Oh, yeah, I have as well." He said, "My daughter is 15, whatever. And, how's your life been? Blah, blah, blah." 20 years I hadn't spoken to him. And he said to me, "You know what?" He said, "You won't believe this, but I still have that painting." And he said, "And I worked in this estate agent's after you, because I'd left." And he said, I was only there 3 months, so he'd been there a few years. He said, "After I left there, I started up my own business." And he said, "So I have my own office." And he said, "And that painting has followed me and followed my life." And he said, "That painting is in my office." And he said, and this is something you might relate to, he said that if my house was to burn down and somebody said to me, "What is the things that you would have to grab before you leave? What would be the things you'd grab?" And he said, "And you know what? Your painting is what I'd grab." And I got goose pimples. I got, my God, I just thought, what? And he said to me, and I was looking at the painting. He says, "There's nothing particular," and I'm dying to know. I can't even remember what it is. And he didn't tell me what it is, so I don't know what it was I painted. Apparently, it's not a particularly exciting. It must be probably a landscape, I would imagine. It would be an oil painting, because that's what I did then. And he said, and I look at it most days, he said, that's just incredible. I look at it most days and it makes me feel calm. And I'm thinking, my gosh. And he said, and I just wondered, I was looking at it there the other day, and I was looking at it, and my daughter popped into the office. And as I was looking at it, I said to her, "Gosh, I wonder what became of that artist, Joan Kennedy." She said to him, "Well, that's easy, Dad. You just need to go online." Because he never thought. Goes online, finds me online, and he said, "And your style," I'm not sure I like this. He says, "Your style, I knew your style straight away. It hasn't changed a bit." And I'm thinking, what a shame. I couldn't believe that. Yeah, I just could not believe it. And I think it was in that moment that I realized, you know what, I've got to do this. I've got to listen to what's happening inside, and I've got to somehow, because it's going to make a difference. It made a difference to him. And so that was really what happened. And, and I never got to meet him. I think I have his address somewhere or whatever, and I'm dying to maybe contact him again. But it was in that moment that I decided, yes, I need to be focusing, and I need to be doing this, because this is what I'm born to do. And it was shortly after that then that I called myself an artist. I thought, if I don't own it, if I'm going to wait for permission from somebody, when do you declare that you're an artist? Because what I decided to do after this, I decided that, you need to have a degree to be an artist, because you better go to art and go there. And I did the first year of the degree course, and I realized, oh my gosh, there's an awful lot that you're not taught. You're not taught. You're taught to look at other artists and look at how they're doing it. And I'm thinking, no, because I want to do my own thing. And what had happened then was, just before then, I ended up winning also to go on an export mission to Prague, and to exhibit in the British Embassy in Prague. So I went there for like 3 days, something. So I saw Prague and the big bridge, and it's just incredible. So yes, so that was something that I applied for. And then, and then of course I'd written the book. And then after that, then I saw something come up about applying. They were only selecting 6 artists or six creative businesses to go on an export mission to China. So I thought, yeah, okay, I'll apply for that as well. So there was hundreds applied apparently. Well, hundreds and hundreds, and I won, and I got the place. So I headed off to China to a place called Hangzhou, and they do this huge big exhibition every September, and it was just incredible because I brought my book, and there's nursery rhymes in the book, like row, row, row your boat. And I'm listening to people in China, little kids in China who can't speak English, and I'm saying, look, row, row, row the boat. And I'm singing, and they're joining in. And just to see the parents there are just the same as any other parent in anywhere in the world, and how music just brings us all together. And she's just a mum who is just as worried about her kids not eating properly or going on the internet or all these things. She in China is just the same as a mum in the UK, in Ireland, in America. We all are mums who think, gosh, what are we going to do for dinner tonight? All the same. It just kind of just brought us all together. So that was the first time that I went. Selected only 6 businesses. And then they selected me again the following year. And I was one of 10 businesses this time. And he said to me, because the previous time I just brought prints along because I didn't know, maybe I'm an artist, but prints and coasters and, products that I make as well, like these sort of things. And he said to me, no, Joan, you're the artist, bring your originals. You've got to bring original art. So I thought, okay, right. And I did a whole collection of art. I think it was about 8 pictures. And yeah, it was a whole collection of animals, which I thought could be linked to animals in the UK and animals in China. What can we link together? One of them was Christian the lion, which was a lion that was in captivity in Harrods in London, which had been, they used to have a zoo in Harrods. I mean, it's incredible this. They used to have a zoo, and these 2 lads bought this lion. On the internet, if you have a look at it, it's an incredible story about how it was released into the wild. So I had a lion, had a tiger, and lots of other animals. Brought those along, and amazingly, this gallery said, right, came along, said, I'll buy this, and this. So he bought was it 6 pieces? I know there was the panda was sold to a collector, so he couldn't have that one, but he bought everything sold basically, all my to this gallery, and Funner Art it's called, and he's got galleries all over China, and so he was just lovely. He was a lovely guy, really nice man, and just bought the lot, and I mean it was just incredible, and I was kind of thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. It was like incredible. And I have a picture of him with all these pictures on my website,
This is such an amazing story, because I just want to go back for a minute.
Yeah.
I just feel like when you were talking about this man who phoned you up after 20 something years and said, is this Joan Kennedy Artist? The artist, and it seems like part of you was like, well, yeah, but for someone to actually, it's like that confirmation of, yeah, I'm an artist, and then a whole nother level of realizing that what you do and the art that you produce is affecting somebody in such a beautiful way.
Yeah.
And then I love this part about going off to China and realizing, that really music and art just transcend. Somebody can look at your art. It doesn't matter where in the world they're from. They can see your artwork. They can be inspired by it. It's all just, we are just,
bringing joy.
It just really goes across to, across to anyone. They could be inspired by it and be touched by your art. And I love what you're saying about, moms they're just everybody's the same. What are we going to feed the kid? Are they
Yeah,
doing their homework? Are they okay? And I love this. And then a huge confirmation comes in when people buy your whole collection.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
oh my gosh, I love this.
Yeah, it was just amazing, really. Yeah, I just feel art unites us. We've had this awful virus. Where has it come from? All this. And we're all just, let's all calm down, as you say. Has your kids done their homework? What we having for tea? And you just think, even in this moment in time, all over the world, that's what somebody's waking up. Are you going to eat your breakfast? You're going to have your dinner. You're going to go to sleep. Right this moment in time, this has been said all over the world, regardless of what culture you're from, whatever language you speak, whatever job you do, whatever. The bottom line is, there's that thing where music, what are we going to play tonight to make you go to sleep? Or it's just, or art, the joy of both of those things for everybody. It's almost like the heartbeat of the world, I think. I don't know. But so that was the second time I got selected. Then I got selected again, the third time. And this time I went to another part of China called Ningbo. And Ningbo, there was a big exhibition on there, and it's just a massive, massive exhibition going on. And this time I brought my daughter because she'd never been to China. So it was just an experience for her. And they said to her, we want you to go up and pick up this award. So I think, it must be an award for the whole 10 companies or whatever that was there. And I'm still on my stand. And I thought, actually, it's just over there. They're going to make this big announcement. I'll just stick my head around, whatever. And with that, I heard Joan Kennedy. And I went, what? And then the people who were on the trip turned and looked at me. And they came over to my daughter and presented her with this, which is a piece of heavy marble. This is. And I won Best Exhibit Award. So there was this with
award that you won. Oh my goodness, I love this. This is incredible.
Yeah. So I won this award. I think it says Best Exhibit Award. I can't speak Chinese.
Yeah, so it's this incredibly big certificate that is written out. Your name is obviously in English, but yeah, it's in this beautiful red folder and in Chinese. And yeah, it could say anything. As far as you know, it says you're the best artist, right? That is incredible.
Yeah. So that's what happened there. And I just, you know what, you could have just blown me over with a feather. You really could. And then that was 2019. 2020 then, I was supposed to go back in April. But sadly, we had this awful virus, coronavirus, as we all know. And what happened was I was supposed to book my flight in the January and held off because we knew things weren't great. But what they did was they still went ahead with the exhibition, and they sent out a representative on my behalf, who is Chinese and who could, Jason. He organised the whole exhibit, and I had my own space basically that was all curated by him and by his assistants. And some, I think I only sent out something like six or seven pieces, and there was at least 3 or 4 pieces sold. They definitely.
So you shipped your art over for the and he represented it. That's incredible, wonderful.
And so that's what happened there. In the whole time of coronavirus, when we were all locked down and everything, I couldn't run my music classes, and I think it was kind of at that time, because we're all kind of all huddled down, whatever. That's when I stopped doing my music classes. That's when I decided to stop Little Hands Music and to focus completely on my art. So part of that, I still have my Facebook page, and I don't know whether to close it down and that. And it's part of me feels a bit saddened. I still feel there's still something that needs to be completed there, because I know it had such a big positive effect on parents. But I know that I don't want to do the classes. I know, and I don't know what I'm going to do there. I don't know. I think if I could just get my music recorded and out into the world, I think that would be kind of a closure there, because I think that there is something that needs doing. What I am doing is I'm working on my second book, and my second book is about, the whole story's written and a lot of the illustrations are done, and it's about a little mouse who follows his dreams.
I love it.
So yeah, so it's a carry on from the first story, and he follows his dreams.
What's the title of your first book?
The Scruffy Dog Story.
It is The Scruffy Dog Story.
Yeah.
So we can now look for that on Amazon. And then now you're working on the second one, which will be the big dreams, the mouse with the big dreams.
Yeah. I have to. Sorry, I was going to say, like,
I love how it's like circles back around, because that drawing that you made with the mouse, I mean, that was years ago, right? And now here you are, putting that together with this book, and I love how it spirals back to that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's all a learning curve. At the moment, I have it on Amazon, the Scruffy Dog Stories, but it's Amazon UK. And I know there's certain buttons I need to press so that it can be bought anywhere in the world, because at the moment it can't. And it's on the to-do list like everything else, and it would be nice, to be able to figure out, because everything is figure-outable, as they say. But so that's really my story.
Well, and I love this I do really feel like there's so many people who are artists, or whatever they are. Maybe they're, but artists in particular, it seems like there is a challenge with claiming that title. And claiming that you're an artist, and knowing if you can put your work out and if people will buy it. And so I love this story on that level as well, and that you were just like, I guess I better claim this. I am an artist. I better claim it. And then also the feeling that there's, for a lot of people, I feel like there's this feeling that you do have to go and take, proper courses or go to university, and you're not an artist or whatever until you take those courses. And clearly you were an artist way before you went to take any course, and it's just in you. The other thing I was going to say about your music, I just want to throw that out there, that I do feel like if you could get it recorded and out into the world, it would probably be so inspirational as well, with people, and help, especially when they, the moms and dads and kids are, the parents are home with their children, and maybe that could be something that they could bring into their own homes, and put, bring some of your joy into their homes. I think that would be incredible, since you aren't able to do it, your classes right now, but just throw out another something on your plate for you to take care of.
I think.
But I feel like that would bring so much joy in, besides your art and everything. And I love this story. I love the confirmation. And I'm just curious as well, what did your daughter go on to be an artist as well?
No. Yeah. And not only have I turned her off starting up her own business, because she said, no, I never do that. She is in her final year studying, and she's doing food science, food technology. So she's down the food route. And who knows where she'll end up? Who knows? But that's her journey. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's part of it too, is that our past sometimes, this is the whole point of this podcast, is a funny thing happened on the way to on the way to my life, is that things change, and we take different paths, and the curves in the road, and things, that twists and turns, and where do we end up on our journey. But I just love your story, and the claiming Joan Kennedy, artist. And it is true that all these Kennedys, and I hadn't thought of that, but probably in Ireland as well, I would imagine there's quite a few Kennedys over there,
just
right?
A few. Yeah, just a few. And going back on the degree, I did the first year and then I quit. I quit because I didn't feel, the people that were there, they were saying, Joan, you're doing this degree course and you're heading off to China, you're doing your first exhibition, you don't need this. And I don't think you can teach art. It has to come from the soul, really. You can learn a lot, but they don't teach, well, they didn't there. It was nice what I did, but it was, it's like anything. You just have to get on and do it. The thing is, like, when you're an accountant or what else, a carpenter or a bricklayer, you go and you become an accountant because you do XYZ, and then guess what, I'm qualified, I'm an accountant, or guess what, I've done this long and I'm a doctor or I'm a dentist. And I don't know if when you come out of university after doing a degree in art, you can actually say, guess what, I'm an artist. I think that's the difference with art. You just have to claim it, really.
Yeah. I want to just tell a little bit of my story in here because it ties in with what you're talking about. When I went to college, I really wanted to do graphics, and this was back in the day when a typesetter was took up half the room, and we had camera art that we had to take, using the big cameras and all the things, using big printing presses, and I loved it. But I decided to go to a school for a year that didn't have a graphics program, and they had an art program. And I thought, well, that's good enough, I'll take the art program. And I did take art history. There was a lettering class that wasn't my thing. I dropped out of it right away because I just didn't love it. But I had a drawing class, and growing up, I used to draw a bit, and I never thought if I was good or bad. I just would draw, and but in this drawing class, it was very clear to me that there were people that were way more talented than me at drawing, and my instructor there didn't love me because I like to talk, and I like to talk to my friend while I was drawing, and he would come around and say, well, you can't talk, you can't draw when you're talking. And I would think in my head, well, I can't draw and not talk, right? Because we would talk and we'd draw. So anyway, I didn't necessarily feel like that was just my thing. And I did go on to move to a different school and did get an associate's degree in graphics at that time. But years later, I had moved to New Jersey and married my husband, and I had this drawing from that class stuck in a drawer, and it was rolled up and stuck in there. It was a pen and ink drawing and of a tricycle, and my husband saw it and he said, oh my goodness, I really love this drawing. And I was like, okay, it was from college, whatever. And he surprised me and had it framed for my birthday one year. And so we hung it up on the wall in our house, and I would walk by it and say, I guess I did used to draw, didn't I? Because I'd moved on and I wasn't doing any art anymore. And so I would walk by it, and it was kind of like I didn't necessarily claim that I was an artist, but I claimed that it was absorbing into me that I used to draw. And especially when it wasn't really this idea that I was I clearly wasn't star of the class. I knew there were people that were so talented in that class. They did gorgeous work. So anyway, that's when we moved. A little bit after that, we moved and bought this house that ended up burning, and so that drawing that I had done was gone. It's gone. It's gone now. I have a photo of it, but that I just happened to take. But that house, this is a different story. I'm not going to go into all of it now because it's a longer story. But that house inspired me to draw again.
Incredible.
And so, and it was from the tiles in my shower that inspired me to draw. So yeah, it's just really interesting that there are these things, these cues, I think sometimes in life that, it's, where you didn't really think much about your art. You did it and people bought it, and then you moved on in your life and went on to other things. But there's these cues that come back to us that are like, no. And clearly you are an incredible artist. You are an amazing
Oh,
artist. And it would be it would be to me a tragedy for you to not be putting your art out into the world. And then one children's book and another children's book, and I just love this. I love this story.
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you say about the tiles in your shower, because I don't know about you, but when I'm having showers, I start thinking of things, and sometimes I do. As I'm having a shower, I always have a shower every morning. I have to get straight in the shower. Sometimes at night time, I'm even doing the same, and I start doing kind of paintings on the tile. I think I could do that one, and yeah, it's funny how it
Well, and
inspires.
what happened with me was that these tiles would sort of haunt me because I would see the image, and it was a lot of animals that I would see. I saw horses, I saw dogs, cats, lions, these different things in the tiles. And what I would start to do, I was like, okay, let me just draw this. But I would take a picture of it with my phone because I wasn't going to sit in the shower to draw. And then I would draw it later. And um, that actually became a children's book as well, which was never intended.
Oh,
Some of those drawings became a children's book as well. So I think it's really interesting, but I had no intention. I was just drawing them to get them out of my mind and get and move on with them. So yeah, it's just really, and again, those were my inspiration for, for, well, we lived there for about 9-10 months, and they they were my inspiration during that time. And I remember my best friend saying, well, what are you going to do when you run out of tiles? What are you going to draw then? And I said, well, there's hundreds of tiles in here, and then there's some in our downstairs bathroom as well that I used. And but they are gone now, so I do have to find inspiration somewhere else. But like I said, I just love this story, and I love that you shared it with us. I really am so grateful, and I think it will really inspire my listeners. And tell me before we wrap up, do you have where can people find you? Do you have a website, a Facebook page? Where can and I'll put them. It'll be in the show notes, but where
yeah,
can they
thank you.
find you?
I have a website which is joankennedyartist.co.uk. I'm on Facebook. Happy to be even friend request on Facebook as well. I've got I've got both page there. I'm really everywhere. I'm on LinkedIn as well. If people are on LinkedIn, Instagram, but yeah, they can find me. I'm on Twitter, but I don't really go on there much. Really, I think my main place is probably Facebook. To be quite honest, is where I tend to hang out the most. That one, Instagram and LinkedIn to some degree. Um,
And on
yeah,
Instagram, are you also Joan Kennedy Artist on Instagram?
yeah, Joan_Kennedy_artist. Yeah,
Oh,
or
beautiful.
they can pick the phone up and have a conversation. The old-fashioned way, which never happens, does it? Let's face it. You know,
They could just Google you and find you. Just just have a call.
let's go do
Have a
something
call with
old-fashioned.
Joan Kennedy Artist. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Well, I am so grateful for you joining me today. I love this story, and I love you sharing it. And I just thank you to you, and thank you to my listeners for a
Oh,
funny thing happened
absolute
on the way to my
pleasure.
life.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. I really hope that it inspires people, whoever it is out there, even one person, to be brave and to, if they want to be an artist, to own it, or maybe something else they want to be. Something else it's amazing what you can teach yourself. And I think the main thing is not to wait for permission. Obviously, if you're not going to hurt somebody, you don't want to kill somebody in the process. But as long as you're bringing joy and happiness, then I think you just got to own it and say what it is that you are, and be brave. Really, it's amazing what we can do.
Right, and that's what I love this. Like, just own your passion, and and embrace it. And maybe you're a dancer, maybe you're whatever you are,
Yeah.
whatever you are,
Yeah.
maybe you're a computer science, technologist, whatever, whatever that, just embrace it. And I think it is hard to, a lot of times, to embrace what we really are passionate about, especially if it's sort of off the mainstream of what people consider
Mm.
a job would be. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
well, again, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
thank you to our listeners today.
Yeah. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Oops.
Thank you for listening to A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to My Life podcast. For more information, visit my website at www.lauramuirhead.com.